Grumpy Kitten reminds you to change your passwords regularly. I'm Aubrey Cottle, aka Curtainer. I'm the founder of the hacker collective Anonymous. Yes. Really? Ask me anything. Hello, r/IAmA. I'm the originator of the internet hate machine that took the world by storm in 2007 to 2008. This was confirmed the other day by Greg Hausch. I have come out of retirement in service of dealing with the current canon menace warping minds around the world. In the process, I'm working closely with forensic researchers and journalists. Most recently, I collaborated with Mother Jones on a piece covering Kim Watkins' past business. And lastly, for the piece that revealed my identity to the world, you may read this article published in The Atlantic on August 11th earlier this year. I'm also the founder of 420chan, one of the oldest living image boards still in operation today. What issues would you like to see the next generation of hacktivists tackle? Privacy rights, big data, monolithic mega corporations owning everything about you and your life. Are you secretly Mr. Robot? Tell Sam S. Mail to return my calls. What's up with those apps that give you money to see your grocery list? My friend does it, and it seems so sketchy. Like there's gotta be a catch. You are the product. How do you feel about the fact that, predictably, half of Anonymous turned out to be informants? It's just part of the game, I suppose. Not really much to say here. Kids, learn some ducking OPSEC. Was Anonymous really responsible for draining the ink from the Scientology headquarters printers by making them print thousands of black pages? Also, duck Scientology. Probably. Duck Scientology. What is your opinion on Edward Snowden? Hero. Have you forgiven those who sold you all out to the FBI? I have, somewhat. Others probably never will. And they have every reason to feel that way. I couldn't hold on to the past like that if I were to move forward. What do you do for a living nowadays? Mostly contract work for software engineering. Though for the last several months my one and only focus has been on Canon. I more or less abandoned everything I was doing for this. I'm also prototyping an InfoSec butt plug. Why does Anonymous doesn't seem to appear as much powerful today as they seemed to be 10 years ago? Everyone went to jail or went into hiding after he who shall not be named ruined it all. Are you still considered anonymous? Anonymous is for life. But like, now we all know you who are, so, anonymous? A rather simple question. Are you proud of what Anonymous has become and what it has done up until now? I couldn't possibly be more proud. What is your proudest moment? When I came to terms with my legacy and realized how much of an inspiration we were for the entire InfoSec and activist world. It took a long time to really process and think about. I was hidden in the open for so long and felt bitter towards Anonymous for a number of years after my departure, and as time went on, I had become so buried that nobody would believe me when I tried to open up about the past. You can imagine why. I was getting more and more depressed, and had I not found people who would actually listen to me and validate what I was claiming, well, I can just say I was fairly close to committing suicide. This sounds like a bad case of PTSD. I hope you found the help you needed. Just the way you described the last part one can relate to. I gained the nickname Mr. Robot when working at Ericsson in 2017. This made me start nervously hiding and working in empty meeting rooms. It was getting that bad for me. Hi Aubrey. Maybe this is a bit of a simple question. But do people underestimate the dangers of social media security? They absolutely do. People don't understand that even outside of open discussions, metadata sourced from people's social webs can paint a fairly vivid picture of their relationships, friendships, general interests. That's just one single thing. Geolocation data, photo metadata, all of these things can be used to map out one's life. Also, if you aren't using two-factor authentication on every internet account you have, well, you should start. What's the most ducked up information you personally found? Pedo shut. How did you get the idea to start Anonymous? Did it come naturally? Yeah, things just kind of took off, and boy did we ever run with it. What is the end goal of Anonymous? Right now my only end goal is bringing the canon game to a conclusion. I remember back in 2011 Anonymous was infiltrated by an FBI informant which led to the arrest of some members after the attack on PayPal. One suspect's name was redacted by the court and never explained why. Are you able to shed any more light on this event? Do you refer to the PayPal 13? If so, they were a minor. If the upcoming election is hacked and results are manipulated, how will we know? I don't think there's an answer to this question, and trust me, I wish I had one. All I can stress to you is this: get the duck out there and vote. What do you consider the most common internet security mistake that people make to be? Weakened reused passwords. MAGA 2020. Everyone's downvoting him, but this was Trump's Twitter password until a few days again. I guess the hive mind doesn't understand the irony. How do you recommend we store passwords? I don't trust password savers online because I don't know enough about online security to have an opinion, and my default is to not trust. Use an offline password vault like 1Password or Keepers. Don't install the browser extensions. Use a solid master password. What steps do you think can be reasonably taken to stamp out the crap that is canon? It's definitely bigger than Watkins and can be easily coopted. Pulling the mask off the charlatans crafting this out of control ARG gone wrong. Wiping out as much of their presence as possible on social networks and deplatforming them. What is the largest project Anonymous has taken on? The big two that come to mind are Project Scientology and Operation #Sec. Hollywood is probably gonna call at some point. Who would you like to be played by in Anonymous? The movie? Johnny Lee Miller. I don't care how old he looks. Sup brother, do you use privacy tokens? And if so, which ones? Monero. What keeps you with Monero compared to other tech? I don't dabble much in the crypto space due to its volatile nature and stick to known and solid solutions. Hi Aubrey, as a person with little to no knowledge of computing etc, is there any way myself and others with no tech background can assist Anonymous? Yes. Anonymous has all walks of life. The most infamous is, obviously, the hacker type, but just as important are the ones that mobilize online and spread awareness, do research, and collaborate in that manner. If you have a voice, you can help Anonymous. Hi Aubrey, which country has the most active members of Anonymous? In the past? The US. Now? Hard to be sure. It's not like I can pull out a big ol' binder here with a list of membership. Why haven't the Scientologists had their revenge on you yet? They took it out on me. What did they do? They spent a lot of money on private investigators to hunt down whoever owned a certain YouTube channel. They then used their own people to track the possible subjects at protests and dox them, following them home, then to their jobs. After a couple months they doxed me and a few others. I was the one they were looking for from YouTube, and they created a DVD all about us with our names and info in it. After that they started filing false police reports claiming that I had done things to them. The police reports were mostly funny. I was out of town a lot during that time period and half of the things they said I did at their building or to a member. I wasn't even in the state and had simple proof of it. But they filed a police report that I had trespassed on their property and gone into their building and terrorized the receptionist. Some anons in masks had actually gone into the building. I was not one of them, and I had video proof of me not being one of them. That proof didn't seem to matter, and I ended up in court, where they spent 7 months delaying, missing dates to provide evidence, and generally using the court system to make me miss work and attempt to drain my bank account. Joke was on them though, my bank was already empty. I'm pretty much always poor as hell. I have no idea how to handle money, so it didn't really hurt as much as they were hoping. In the end I took a CWOF, which means I told the judge that I understood that he had seen enough evidence, that he had the option to send this to a real jury trial. Even though some of that evidence was literally me not being in the building and instead being blocks away, I accepted the CWOF because they had made a mistake. It only listed their Boston addresses as places I had to avoid. They had buildings in many cities, states, countries, all over. So I went to protests against them in Connecticut, New York, even Los Angeles. But it did cost me a lot of work time and stress, so it definitely wasn't a fun time. And with my name out there I ended up all over the press, as everyone from local channels to CNN was playing the Message to Scientology video. Do you regret anything that Anonymous did? And if so, how would you do things differently in hindsight? Epilepsy Foundation. I don't want to get into that whole debacle. I would have accepted the wider activist front that Hausch pushed forward. He basically protected me for a long time, not discussing me with press, and I thank him for that. For anyone wondering what is being referenced, on March 28, 2008, Wired News reported that internet griefers, a slang term for people whose only interests are in harassing others, assaulted an epilepsy support forum run by the Epilepsy Foundation of America. JavaScript code and flashing computer animations were posted to trigger migraine headaches and seizures in people with photosensitive or pattern-sensitive epilepsy. According to Wired News, circumstantial evidence suggested that the attack was perpetrated by anonymous users, with the initial attack posts on the Epilepsy Forum blaming eBaum's World. Members of the Epilepsy Forum claimed they had found a thread in which the attack was being planned at 7chan.org, an image board that has been described as a stronghold for Anonymous. The thread, like all old threads eventually do on these types of image boards, has since cycled to deletion.